Alright guys, so just recently I've finished the Thrawn Trilogy and I've read book 1, 2, and 3. This is going to be a review on this series, right? This is the oldest book series for Star Wars, I think. Anyways, it's supposed to be good. And I would have to say that the first book is probably the best one in the series. It has a decent setup. I'm just gonna be honest, the freaking starting scenes were silly and a joke. I hate the way that Zahn looks at the Force, the way that he regards the light side and the dark side. Now, it is interesting that the Sith were known as Dark Jedi before we got into the prequels and all that, before all the rest of Star Wars was fleshed out and the EU and all these different things. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, so I read this book. I hated the dialogue. I hated the setup for the characters. I'm going to be honest, Leia is freaking annoying in this book and the rest of the books. I literally hate her character. And Mara Jade is just a girl boss. I did not appreciate the levels of feminism that was pushed with her character. And in fact, it just annoyed the living daylights out of me. It was just an excuse by Zahn to throw in a girl boss, right? He gets off on masculine, air quotes on competent women, and basically a girl who's the key to everything, right? That kind of trope. Well, and this is an older book, but still, it's still a trope. It's a trope for wokies. I don't know why they're so addicted to the girl who's the key to everything. Mara Jade is, though, she's kind of supposed to be this like semi-hot chick, though, or she's supposed to be an outright hot chick, I guess. It's never really that specific. She's supposed to be a dancer, though, that the Emperor hired up to be his side hoe protector or whatever. So, all right. And this is all in retrospect. There's a lot of details that goes on with this book. I freaking hated it, though. Well, let's be honest, though. This book was mostly fine, right? I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 after reading it. And what this book does, like the beginning encounter with Thrawn was just silly. Like, I remember sitting there being like, bro, you're the writer. You just wrote this scene to work, right? And I forget what the TIE fighter formation was that Zahn talks about in the beginning of the book. But, well, you know what? We could read sample. But he goes into where is it? We have a TIE fighter formation that just was barely explained in the book of how it even works, right? How does it foil their enemies, right? In the space exchange, the shootout. Plus at least 3 wings of X-Wing fighters. Blah, blah, blah. Where is it? I want to know, what the frick was the name? Doesn't matter. So anyways, it was kind of silly, though. It's this really grand excuse to try to make Thrawn seem like he's intelligent. But this is done where you label a formation and you say, I'll foil the rebellion fighters, right? And their formation. But you don't actually explain the formation occurring here and how it counters and how it operates, right? Like, you don't explain all the tidbits. Oh, is it right here? Down here. Oh, I can't highlight it. Well, that sucks. Anyways, yeah, we're looking at the top here. Chimera for 2 kilometers, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't. Oh, the Marg Sabel. So here's the thing. I don't care about how it's actually pronounced. I can appreciate what's trying to be done here, but the Marg Sabel, it's something that's never used for the rest of the book. The whole book series, but also this book. It makes no sense here. A properly executed Marg Sabel says at the end of that paragraph. It's like, okay, what? And Illumin simply cannot handle the unstructured attack profile of a properly executed Marg Sabel. I mean, geez Louise, man. At that point, the freaking story's writing itself, right? It's like, okay, but like, what is that formation and how does it act? What are the mechanics of that formation? Barely explained. So in your head, you literally have to just make up, how does it work? That's crappy writing, and this gets worse the deeper you go into the book series. Yeah, I mean, there's no other formations that are talked about throughout the rest of the book, and I'm gonna be honest, in the Thrawn Trilogy, Thrawn is basically an idiot savant everyone is basically all the heroes. They're just has-been heroes who get lucky all the time. It's one of these tropes in writing where you just cannot allow the heroes to die. They have an infinite plot armor, and the villain is supposed to be a menacing bad guy, and he just wins nothing. Right? He wins nothing. He acts like he's winning the entire time. He thinks he's winning the entire time, but unlucky for him, there's an author for this book. So it's like, good luck, Thrawn. The freaking author doesn't want you to win. It's lame. You're playing imagination. You already made who's going to win, who's going to lose. That's crappy writing. You need to be willing to sacrifice any of your characters. Luke Skywalker should be able to die in this book. Now, of course, in the age of deconstruction, no. And I don't actually mean that. It's just that if you're going to actually write competent characters, now this is difficult, right? Because he was hired for the Star Wars universe being made by George Lucas. So how much can he really play around with things? I don't know. But honestly, he had so much he could have done. Nothing was ever done after. I mean, Lucas kind of he did want to do films after. But I mean, Lucas could always just say, this is non-canon, right? So again, you were tasked and hired to do this. And none of the heroes are ever put into actual legitimate danger. And another thing, I think it was in this book, right? Or the second book was a blur for me. And there's going to be a big reason in that little review why. So let's just be compendious on this review here. I'm just going to say this in short. I forget if it was in the second book or not, because the second book, I'll just say this. Second book is a bunch of meandering. A bunch of things don't happen. Honestly, Zahn, he reuses a bunch of different plot points. I don't know why the frick he's doing that. It's annoying though. I mean, how many times do we have to meet a smuggler who has a near shootout against one of our protagonists? And it's just a lot of the same stuff happening with different characters. Lazy writing, and it's not really that imaginative or interesting in Star Wars universe, honestly. It's really lame story beats and concept creation. But anywho, in this book, they do he does a little bit of girl bossing with Leia. The way that he's written Leia is a little bit girl boss. She's pregnant and she's just like, no, hon, I'm gonna go and do my own thing, okay? Because I'm an independent woman and I need to, I'm so busy being a politician, and also I have to go run over to some random the Wookiees' random homeworld. I think it was Kashyyyk or somewhere else. And she has to go over there, and she has to go into their city and nearly get assassinated, but because of plot armor, doesn't matter. And she just luckily survives, and she luckily wins every scenario, and of course she somehow has access to the Force. Let's just stop it. Listen, Luke is the warrior, Luke is the man. Stop it. She's a woman. She's never going to be a warrior, and she's never going to be a Jedi. Oh, right, this is made by a feminist. Okay. So anyways, literally, just make her be a mother. As simple as that. Just make her be a mother, make her be a woman that she was kind of in politics. She was never really that good at politics, let's be honest. And just make her be a chick that's like, she's just in the side scenes, And she kind of interacts in politics. But then you got Mothma, whatever frick her name. Screw that chick, man. Just another feminist biatch who literally thinks she's important because someone decided that a woman should be the helm of the rebellion. Oh my gosh, how the frick has the rebellion ever succeeded at anything? If they're being led by a woman, they're on the path to frickin' destruction. But again, plot armor. Plot armor is the only thing that makes the rebellion work in this book, in the whole series. Freaking joke, man. And I can swear to you right now, I could make a way better parody on this freaking book than the actual book itself. The actual book itself is trash, all right? And it sucks, This is what I would say with the entire... We should just get through this because I have all the other reviews can honestly address what I'm about to say here. So let's make it quick. 3PO. That's how you spell it? I've never seen it spelled. It's kind of weird. The biggest issue with all this is that this is basically just half decent fan fiction, this book. And it's unimaginative Star Wars. It doesn't expand on ideas. It doesn't pull ideas to their deepest and most intriguing extent. It's just Star Wars, right? It's a story within Star Wars, right? The world of Star Wars. a story that just exists to exist. It's literally just that. It is, what is it? This feels like what was that crappy show called? CSI or whatever, right? It's this unimaginative runoff of the main series. Doesn't have a point to the story, doesn't have a point to the overall world of Star Wars, doesn't expand the mind or your creativity for anything. But all it does is just, oh, remember these characters? Yeah, okay, let's extend a story with them that really is not that interesting or worth your time. This was not worth my time at all. Yeah, that's what this is. It's just half decent fan fiction. And fan fiction is inherently crap. It's only half decent to the point that you can read it and not want to snuff yourself out. But frick, man, this was terrible. And this book kind of ends anticlimactic with the entire ending. Some parts are really unbelievable. Mara Jade not killing Luke Skywalker, even though she seems really set on it. Thrawn, I largely kind of like. Card, I like Card's character. He's kind of interesting. But the things that they do with these characters doesn't really go that far. And there's a lot of missed beats. So with this book, man, it's just like overall, it's very disappointing. The characterizations are the best it's going to be in the series of this trilogy. So, okay, I finished it and I was like, okay, you know, it's not really impressive, but it's a story placed within Star Wars. It just continues the world of Star Wars. It's mostly authentic and honorable to who the characters actually were in the films, right? But nothing really goes on. You got stupid things like in here. There's a mention in the beginning of the book about hot chocolate, and Luke Skywalker has no idea what hot, yeah, it's right here. right here at the top. Luke told him it's called hot chocolate. Like, Star Wars is supposed to be spectacular. It's supposed to be imaginative. Don't bring the real world and the simplicities, the mundanity of the real world into Star Wars. That's not what it's about. It should be called something else. You can describe hot chocolate, but it needs to be called something else. You're in the world of Star Wars. It's a galaxy far, far away, okay? It's not supposed to be in any way resemblant of our idea of home, okay? So the imagination is... Zahn does not have much imagination. Let's just put it simple, man. And this whole book was very disappointing in that fact. The story beats were just lame, and the way that everything just works out in the end of this book here, it happens with every single book. But with this book, the way that everything just works out for Luke, right? Luke at one point is locked up, and I think in a storage unit, and he just figures out a way to get out. There's a whole way that he does it. He has a battery in his cybernetic hand. He takes it out. He activates the door. He does this freaking goo goo gaga magic. Okay, cool, dude. It's just not interesting. And I mean, that's mostly passable, but the biggest issue with this story is just that it doesn't really go anywhere. Things happen conveniently where Mara Jade never kills Luke Skywalker, although she keeps talking about it all the freaking time. It's just a lot of time spent roaming around in space needlessly. So the whole story is, it just really doesn't need to exist. Thrawn's plans in this book, like all the rest of the books, gets foiled. And he's like, good. That was a part of my plan. You know, Peli and Sin are like, sir, I can't believe plans have been foiled. What are we going to do? And then Thrawn says there, we will figure it out. Because it was all a part of my plan. Thrawn, buddy, you're losing. Your plans keep getting foiled. And you're just like, it's all a part of my plan. This is all going to work out. No, it's not. We all know it's not. It's freaking ridiculous. And what it is, dude, with this story is that it's insane plot armor every step of the way. Especially at the end. There's tons of plot armor, tons of conveniences thrown in. But at the end, you're like, okay, fine. If you finish this book and you haven't read the other books, which, you know, it's book one, so okay. You're going to sit there and be like, you know, it wasn't really that impressive, but it was in Star Wars, okay. Characters mostly respected and honored. I guess this could get better. Right, let's see how book 2 goes. And then book 2 is trash. And honestly, we're going to leave that there because then we're going to get into book 2's review. But book 2 is the worst of the 3 books. And this is the best in the series. It doesn't get any better from here. Doesn't go up. It only goes down. And for some reason, right, let's look at this. Look at the top of the page. Leia is pregnant. Over 3 months pregnant. And within the series, she ends up giving birth. So her whole pregnancy is over. by the end of the books, by the middle of the last book, actually. The amount of bullcrap that she does being pregnant in this book is girl boss energy, and it's retartar, all right? And by the way, I just have to say this last thing. The Imperials in this whole book series, they're a joke. I mean, Thrawn, Zahn tries to do a couple things to make them seem ominous, powerful, whatever, but they're just a joke by the end, bro. Like, they should be far more competent, and I know why he does this, because he wants to put the seat of moral superiority in the hands of the rebellion. And he wants to act like the rebellion because they're a unified front of people, right? Basically, their diversity and liberalism overload, especially in Zahn's mind, Timothy Zahn. He makes it so that the rebellion is supposed to win because they're in the morally righteous position, because they're the most cooperative people in the galaxy. And there's a bunch of fallacies in that. There's a bunch of plot holes within that belief. And you're just writing around your plot hole because there's a bunch of strengths to being an empire, especially an empire where there's one supreme leader. Everybody works around him for specific reasons. There's every reason that the empire should not only be strong, but they should also be imposing and menacing. And in this, they just somehow lose constantly with a grand strategist like Thrawn. It's just so ridiculous. And Thrawn's supposed to be the best of his race. He's a token character, and he's the worst. So, holy crap. If this guy is the best of his people, right? He's the exception for the Emperor, and that the Emperor typically doesn't want anyone else. No other alien races leading the Empire. This guy is supposed to be a genius. He's supposed to be a huge exception to everything. He does a terrible job throughout this book, but not as much in this book. Again, this is the best book in that series. Thrawn is the smartest here. He will ever be. But in the future books, it gets increasingly worse. And it's like, this guy is the best that the Empire has to offer? He's the guy that survived the death of the Empire, the supposed death, right, after the Emperor died. He does such a terrible job. He's supposed to be the exception. And it's like, bro, this guy is supposed to be like an insanely intelligent diversity hire. He's not really a diversity hire, right? Like, not analogous to us today, but you get the point. You know, it's like he's supposed to be like the exceptional diversity hire, and he doesn't even do a good job. I have no idea what Zahn was thinking with this entire series, but also, of course, this book specifically. And this is the best book. I gave it back then a 4 out of 5. Back when I read it, man, and at this point, it's either a 3, it might be a 3, or even a 2, because I was like assuming, well, you know, hopefully Thrawn Trilogy goes up from here, and it doesn't. So we're going to leave it there. We're going to get into the second book's review. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on that one. All right, guys, and sorry about this. I knew when I was ending the video, I probably forgot about something. So if we're looking right here, these are some popular highlights in the book. You know, when you're reading through the book, you don't really assume what's going to be, you know, air quotes, popular. All right. Let me just read these 3 off, though. First one I have a huge issue with, and it is made for morons. Anyone can make an error, Ensign. This is after an ensign makes a mistake in the book. But that error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. Now, that is pseudo-intellectualism. That is pseudo-intelligence. That's pseudo-wisdom right there. Anyone can make an error, Ensign. Okay, it's a statement. Nothing to judge there. But here we go. But that error doesn't become a mistake. Okay, when you make an error, here's the thing about an error. An error is in the absence, that when you are doing something, in the absence of your intuition, right? Or your foretelling, your forethought of the matter. I'm going to throw a ball. Oh wait, the wind picked up randomly. Okay, that was an error. Didn't expect that. That's anomalous. Okay, so there's something anomalous about errors. Now here we go. Doesn't become a mistake. What is a mistake? You're throwing a ball, you try to throw it straight, you mess up, you make a mistake, and it curves instead. That's you knowing better and accidentally doing worse or doing whatever is the unsavory outcome or the unintended outcome. An error occurs at a different time frame than a mistake. An error occurs after the matter of fact, after the anomalous occurrence. A mistake is where you could have taken the proper precautions to prevent a negative outcome. So in one, an error, you could not foretell the outcome. It is anomalous. In a mistake, you are responsible. You had prior knowledge of the occurrence, the potential of the occurrence. Because of this, you could have taken precautions, defensive measures, and you chose not to, or you failed despite knowing better. The time frame of both problem occurrences are not the same, and therefore you cannot use them within the same sentence, treating them as if they are the same. A mistake is imprudence, and an error is largely ignorance, or an outcome of surprise. Two different things. But that error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. So an error, something anomalous, does not become a mistake, something that you could have done something about, until you refuse to correct it. So it's just kind of a stupid way to word it, because that whole dialogue line right there just makes no sense. And when I heard it, it's like, okay, I get what Thrawn's saying to the ensign. Sure, I get his point, right? That error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. Sure, right? It's not something that's set in stone. What Zahn means is that he is behaving, and he's also, through basically like mindset guru thinking, he's treating an error and a mistake like they are the same thing, and that they are also interchangeable. Or rather, we could also say that they're so similar that they could be interchangeable, and that it's all based upon your mindset and how you choose to approach it, that is what determines whether or not an error is a mistake, or vice versa, if a mistake is somehow an error. In theory, the line is correct of what Thrawn says to the ensign, saying that an error does not become a mistake, right? So error, the anomalous situation or outcome, does not become a mistake, something that you can have a countermeasure against, or something that you can create safeguards therefore, or something that you have predecessing knowledge that allows you to address the problem for a preventative solution. In this scene, for one, we don't know if the ensign committed to an error or a mistake. But that is, by the way, what Thrawn should be talking about, is designating either or, and then therefore the proper conduct due to either or, not stating that either or is practically interchangeable. Again, an error cannot freely become a mistake, and a mistake cannot freely become an error. The only way that an error becomes a mistake, something that you can do anything about, and that if the outcome of a mistake were to occur, that means that you were either imprudent, you were careless, or maybe you were willfully ignorant. Either way, you are largely responsible for a mistake. You are not responsible for errors. So the problem here, of course, it must be understood that an error becomes a mistake once you have the necessary knowledge to fundamentally identify an error for the anomaly it is, so that you can create such a blueprint or a framework to address the error as to prevent it from occurring again. If it does occur again, and you have predecessing knowledge thereof it, then you have committed to a mistake, and you are most likely liable for responsibility upon your inadequacy. Again, in this scene, Zahn is choosing to treat the content matter of an error and a mistake as if they are interchangeable, which is not true. An error happens, by the way, after the matter of fact. A mistake is something that happens before or during the matter of fact. So the chronology is off between the two. And again, you can ultimately do something about a mistake. You can't do anything about an error. There's one in which you should have had your guard up against it, and there's another where you couldn't have your guard up against it. So that's pretty much why it's written for idiots, though, is that we are behaving like two things that actually have nothing to do with each other. Two descriptors that have nothing to do with each other should for some reason make their way into Thrawn's supposed wisdom or mindset guru fantasy nonsense. For this scene, all that matters is, for specifically Thrawn, is designating whether or not the problem is a mistake or an error. And through that, he can actually have a discernment upon what to do with the ensign, or how to judge and assess the consequence of the ensign. And let's just be honest, here in this scene, Thrawn basically turns an objective matter into a subjective matter. It all determines based upon how you wish to think about it. Oh, well, I guess I'll do something about the error, something that I literally couldn't do anything about. Okay, it's still an error, and unless you somehow uncover the inherent identity of the error, there's no way you can actually deal with the problem. If you try to solve something that you know nothing about, so you're basically trying to solve nothing, then you are never going to actually find a proper solution. And really, if there's anything you can do, you're just going to guess at what wildly, by the way, what the problem is, and then you're going to hope that your wild guess is a proper countermeasure. So possibly your error, right? If you cannot find the proper knowledge to identify it so that you can turn it into a situation to become a mistake if you were to fail again, now you will just stumble from one error into the next because you created a countermeasure as a wild guess. You have no idea if it's actually going to solve the problem. So then if the problem occurs again, the error, then there's going to be a secondary problem, which is the error that comes right after, which happens to be your countermeasure that was the wild guess. But again, understand that in all the chronology of speaking about this is that you don't have any predecessing proper knowledge. So these errors remain errors. You don't have a roadmap of their value. With a mistake, you do have a roadmap of value, and you can jump ahead of yourself of reaching the state of an error by method or the grounds of what constitutes a mistake. Then we look at the second one. All men want power, and the more they have, the more they want it. Yeah, that's true. Okay. And only losers don't want power. They end up being the ones who are ruled over. Okay. I mean, that's just a matter of fact about life and men. Okay. For good reason. And then not the last of old Jedi, Luke, the first of the new. Yeah, I have issues with that because, okay, so you're acting like there's something wrong with the old order, that it's not worth just rebuilding the old order, what Obi-Wan was once a part of? You have to make it first of the new? And who are the new? Who are they going to be? And how good or effective are they going to be? And what, are they going to have different tenets than the old Jedi? I mean, see, this isn't spoken about in the book, and this is the problem. You could make that interesting where it's like, well, we don't have the texts from the old Jedi. It was all wiped out and exterminated by the Emperor. Okay, Luke, so we're going to have to find our way forward in as best of a vision as we can have of who the old Jedi were. That's a better way to write it out, but okay, that wasn't in the book. All right, anyways, that is some of my after mentions that I forgot to make. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next review. All right, guys, welcome for the second review here of the Thrawn Trilogy. So, Dark Force Rising, right? That's the name of this one. The previous one was Heir to the Empire. This book is what? It's somewhat shorter. How many pages is that? Yeah. So it's about, what is it? Like 40 something pages shorter than the previous book. This book is absolutely bloated. And honestly, Zahn probably only had 1 book and a half in himself, but he had to force himself to make a trilogy because the entire trilogy, really, there isn't that much meat to the content. Instead, what Zahn does is that he just bloats out everything. In this book, the bloating is the largest, right? Thrawn gets completely and utterly illogically defeated in this book, just as much as the other ones. Suddenly, all of his plans get foiled, and he always sits there, just like the other books, the first one and the third one, and he's like, it was a part of my plan to lose, but you thought it was not. Do not worry. Us losing is exactly a part of my plan. He always has this behavior. He's an idiot savant. He's this apparent genius who just plans on losing all the time. Of course, what Zahn does is that he just writes his characters to have infinite plot armor. All they do is just constantly win by dumb luck. Mara Jade randomly doesn't want to kill Luke. Okay. They randomly get out of situations that they have no business getting out of. They get lucky in so many scenarios, it's ridiculous. Thrawn is basically the best character, honestly, in all of the Thrawn trilogy. Leia is as annoying as ever. I hate her character. Han Solo, just like in the previous book, basically a freaking wimp that answers to his girl boss wife. Mara Jade is a girl boss. She just randomly is good at things and wins at things. Okay. And there's just a bunch of plot conveniences There's a bunch of reused plot devices with the smugglers where we just meet different smugglers and we run around the galaxy needlessly and we just have random stick-ups and shootouts and all this random crap that doesn't really matter, but we're just gonna do it like 2 to 3 times in the book because we have to pad this freaking thing out. It was a boring book, honestly, and it really didn't need to exist. It was pretty much 10 or 15% of its book content actually needed to exist. You know, the women are insufferable. Timothy Zahn has a thing for just being a freaking male feminist with his female characters and making them super competent and blah, blah, blah. I cannot stand the diplomacy aspects of this book. It's just ridiculous how things constantly work out. Leia is freaking pregnant and she's running around just being a diplomat, getting nearly killed all the time, putting herself in harm's way. Are you a freaking idiot? And what Zahn does is that he just sets it up where she's never in actual danger. No one is. None of the main characters are. This is just a bunch of has-been heroes just getting lucky all the time. So anyway, let's look at what the popular highlights are. Concentration, focus, long-term thinking. Those are the qualities that separate a warrior from a mere flailing fighter. Okay, I don't think that's exactly true, but in essence, that is, you know, that's, I mean, in like part of being okay, there's a lot of aspects of being a warrior, but sure, those things work for the most part. All right, let's just take it for what it is. The previous one had some roughly stupid highlights. It wasn't that bad. I mean, there's worse. I just had some things to nitpick. Refusing to be intimidated, after all, didn't mean deliberately asking for trouble. Sure. Possibly even as high as 0.5, which would mean they were covering 127 light years per hour. 127 light years per hour. That got highlighted? Okay. All right. The previous book, Heir to the Empire, had like specifically one really stupid line. The wording just doesn't work for the point of the dialogue, so I criticized it, but those are roughly fine. Anyways, that is Dark Force Rising. It's the worst one in the series. When I finished it, I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I was like, maybe that was my ranking for it if I gave it anything numerical. It just didn't impress me. And I was like, okay, maybe the third book will just wow me away. And it didn't. So, holy crap, man. Now when I look back on it, it's probably a 1 out of 5 because this book just didn't need to be in the series. So, thank you for joining me on this one. Let's get into the third book. Alright, so here we are. Last Command. This is the third book in the Thrawn Trilogy. There's Mara, who's supposed to be a dancer. I guess that's a roughly attractive face. Her bust is not as big as I would like it to be, so I'm definitely disappointed, on top of her sexual performance. So anyways, this freaking book. Not too impressed with the previous 2 books, right? Mara Jade is... Okay, whoa. Hold up. This book is the one that culminated my entire disappointment with this series. Let's just say it outright. What happens at the end of the book? Master Sabayoth randomly loses against girl boss in aid, Leia, somehow aiding Mara Jade through the Force, and maybe a little bit her brother, but really specifically Mara, and Mara just getting lucky to defeat this supposed grand villain guy, right? Sabayoth, Sith Lord. She beats him out of just pure dumb luck. Like, all the characters win all throughout this entire book series. Every character wins by pure dumb luck. The villains are supposed to be smarter and better equipped than them, and they always win. I don't understand where this idea comes from. This is lazy writing, this entire series, but holy crap. Just by pure dumb luck, these characters win. Mara is just giving girl boss moment, especially at the end, defeating Master Sabayoth. She has no business winning. She literally, Zahn just writes it like a girl boss. He doesn't even give the victory to Luke Skywalker. Honestly, he cucks Luke Skywalker because he makes Luke Skywalker sit there and be like, I don't kill, Jedi do not kill. Oh, screw off with that freaking sanctimonious bull crap. This whole freaking propaganda that a hero never kills. No, kill the freaking villain. Cut it out. The villain's the freaking bad guy. Kill the freaking dude. Oh my god. The villain, by the way, is dead set on his convictions. World domination. By the way, I side with Master Sabaoth. He should dominate the freaking galaxy. You know, we're gonna get into Master Sabaoth. Let's just do it right now. Screw it. He's not crazy. Zahn wants you to think he's a crazy, insane guy. There's nothing that characterizes insanity within Master Sabaoth. He's literally just a guy that desires and thirsts for power. That is it. And he knows his own value. He knows he's supreme over basically everything in the freaking universe because he's a powerful force user. Yeah, when you look at the world through his lens, Master Sabaoth, you're like, oh, it makes sense. Of course he thinks that way. And I agree with him. And like, the rebellion, by the way, is completely incompetent. They won over the Empire, but apparently they're just completely incompetent, and for some reason they have female leadership. I agree with Master Sabaoth. Bro, you should be the freaking ruler of the freaking galaxy. Or Thrawn, whoever, I don't care. Somebody. But instead, like, apparently he's supposed to be insane. Okay. He had every business winning and beating both Luke and Mara, but right, we had to do this gay thing with Luke where I'm not going to kill bad guy because I'm good guy. Okay. It's just lame liberal propaganda writing. Cool. And then Mara's literally just given the girl boss victory just because Timothy Zahn, he has a hard on for freaking feminists, right? And it's ridiculous in this book because Leia Organa Solo, love of God, it should just be called Leia Solo. But we have to give her the hyphenated feminist last name, okay. But Leia Solo, the issue with her is that in this book she gives birth to her twins. I hate the way that he writes the scenes with the twins. Zahn is he's an overly emotional, sentimental writer, and he tries to use weird, like, emotional manipulation moments, and honestly, it feels super homosexual, just how much focus he'll make on, like, the exchanges between the characters towards the babies, right? The twins, Leia's twins. It's just stupidly written. And what he does is that he literally writes it in this book where Leia gives birth and she immediately goes back to being a career woman right after giving birth, and she starts pursuing battle scenarios right after giving birth. He treats the women like they're freaking men. And it's so ridiculous. There's no concept of a woman that is going through pregnancy, then gives birth. Listen, no woman is a freaking workhorse powerhouse. That is a man's role, a man's archetype. And he puts that onto Leia, her character. All throughout this book, she's a freaking girl boss. But Mara's the biggest girl boss of all in this book. What's the worst thing, though, that happened in this book? That's bad. What I just told you about? What's the worst thing that happens in this book, by the way? Okay? What's the worst thing that happens in this book? I want you to think about it. There's a character named Thrawn. Thrawn gets thwarted every second of the way. And he's always sitting there twirling his mustache. It was always a part of my plan. You were merely lucky in defeating me. But I have a grand strategy and you shall fail. He has every reason. Thrawn has every reason to just win outright. And he never wins because Zahn doesn't want Thrawn to win. It's silly all throughout this book. The issue is that at the end of the book, right, Thrawn just loses constantly just by pure dumb luck from the heroes. And what happens in the end is Thrawn literally gets assassinated off screen. He gets stabbed off screen. Then the camera pans over to Thrawn, in book terms. Pelion looks over and he notices that Thrawn got freaking stabbed in the chest. And Thrawn goes out smiling before his smile fades out because he's dead. Thrawn gets killed by a Nogri, one of his bodyguards from a different culture that he subjugated, the Empire subjugated the culture. Is the lamest way for Grand Admiral Thrawn to go out. This guy's a grand strategist and he doesn't get outmaneuvered. He doesn't get out-thought to death. No, he literally is sitting in his chair, upright, and he gets stabbed by his bodyguard. It is the lamest way for a villain to go out, especially a villain as big of a deal as Thrawn. And you know what it really was? It was the fact that Timothy Zahn, literally, he ran out of plot time for Thrawn. So he just kills off the character. He's like, oh, whatever, fine, bro. We went this whole book building up Thrawn. We went this whole book acting like he's a huge menace to the galaxy. He's gonna reignite the Empire. And he literally just gets killed in not even a page of the book. in the most anticlimactic way imaginable. It is silly, it is ridiculous. The Nogri sits there and is like, this is, payback for my people and you enslaving them. Screw you. Holy crap, is this a terrible way for Thrawn to go out. But we just make Thrawn have a lazy death. And Timothy Zahn is a crappy writer. He does not have much imagination for the Star Wars universe, and he reuses plot points like it's Swiss cheese. There's plot holes everywhere, but he loves plot convenience. And by the way, let's not forget to mention, at the end of this book, Last Command, for one, Mara Jade, at the end of the book, also all throughout the freaking trilogy, he's just mean. She's what's the word for it? Biatchy. She's a freaking biatch towards Luke Skywalker. And I'm just like, why does she treat Luke so terribly all the time? Why is she such a snappy, a snide remark feminist all the time? And you want to know the thing that also really pissed me off with the end of this book? It's the fact that Zahn, he writes Luke Skywalker to press Mara Jade to girl boss, to career woman for whatever. I mean, not for the next book, right? There's no next book, but like for whatever the supposed after book events are supposed to be. Just go out into the galaxy, do a bunch of things. You're a strong, capable woman, Mara. Go. Don't be a woman and just, I don't know, start a family or chill out, and I don't know, strip for some dude like me. No, he just sits there and he's like, yo babe, you're so hot when you work a forge and when you're sitting around, lifting weights. Wouldn't you mind and just go somewhere else in the galaxy and career woman it up? And it's like, what? Why is Luke Skywalker not just making a freaking... This chick's supposed to be hot. Luke, just freaking smash the chick. Just shut up about her freaking career for 2 seconds, dog. Oh yeah, look at that right there. You will kill Luke Skywalker. Whatever, man. That freaking line in this book. Yeah, bro, like, what the frick are you doing? Like, Luke self-cucks himself all throughout this freaking series. And even in the end, he's cucking himself to the highest degree. He's telling a woman, hey, go be a career chick, and I'm not gonna sit there and finally make a move on you and say, suck this dick. He doesn't do that. Instead, he just sits there and he's like, whatever. I'm an asexual plant. I don't want to screw a hot chick that I had this whole journey through the galaxy with. It's freaking homosexual, bro. This freaking book, the ending is stupid. Timothy Zahn's freaking executions of the scenes, by the way, is terrible. And I can't. With this book, I just can't. When I finished it, oh, look at that, by the way, right here, the line, Princess Leia Organa Solo. Holy crap. Why the feminist last name? Just make it Princess Leia Solo. That's it. It's done. By the way, Winter, one of the most annoying characters too. All the women are annoying in this game. And they're all girl bosses. They're all strong, competent, capable. Wow, I would love it if this was a realistic book with realistic characters and realistic women, but no. It's just a bunch of career chicks, a bunch of feminist women, and they're all being treated like they're equal to the men, but so for some reason the men are still to act like men. Whatever. With the duties of being men, not anything else. Anyways, I just, all the executions by Zahn in this book, it's horrendous, and the characters, the air quotes on emotional beats of the story is just so forced and it's so hammed up. At the end, I just got pissed with this freaking book series, especially with the way that Thrawn dies. That really got to me. I was like, okay, I'm done, bro. You literally built up this dude and then you tore him down in less than 5 seconds. So before we close out on this, let's just go through the popular highlights. So, history is on the move, Captain. This is Thrawn. Those who cannot keep up will be left behind to watch from a distance. I don't know why anyone's highlighting that, but okay. That's just a statement. I feel that. No white hot rage, no fanatical hatred, just a simple icy determination. About as dangerous as you could get. I don't know why that got highlighted either, but that I think is about Mara and how she wants to kill Luke. And by the way, at the end of the book, Luke is fighting a clone of himself because of a cloning chamber from the Emperor that Master Cybaoth I guess he has control over it, but I think it's actually Thrawn who has control over it. It's one or the other. Luke's fighting his clone, and the way his clone dies, again, is so plot convenience. It's so lame. There's this execution, right? All throughout this trilogy, Mara is having visions of the Emperor tell her, "You have to kill Luke Skywalker." And it's like, okay. This is kind of getting annoying at this point in the book. And she literally, like, the resolution to her, she's supposed to kill Luke Skywalker by the Emperor's demand in the Force. So she literally kills Luke Skywalker's clone. And that, again, girl boss moment. Luke literally cannot and will not kill anyone in this book. The whole trilogy, because he's freaking useless. And apparently it's the freaking girl boss that has to get the killing blow. That she's the reason why this plot ever moves along. And Timothy Zahn, he literally, he grabs himself at night and he imagines Mara Jade, okay? And he imagines her with big burly arms, him coursing his fingertips through her long arm hair. And he's like, babe, if you would just please strap on my vaxxed pegging piece and do me like you do. And it's just like, Zahn, dude, we get it. Like, for some reason, and he does the same thing with Leia. He does the same thing with Mon Mothma and her stupid. It's just all the women in this book are feminist characterizations. They're all these career women who are super competent and capable and all this stupid crap. And they're not women. Listen, this guy was freaking woke before the woke. And I don't know what his new trilogy is like. Maybe it's freaking horrible, right? Maybe he threw in a bunch of gay characters. I don't know. But whatever it is, freaking annoying. Anyways, right here, that's the line. And Mara's given the killing blow on Luke's clone. And that's supposed to resolve the Emperor wanting her to kill Luke Skywalker. Even, whatever. You're not supposed to question it. Just be a mindless consumer and just feed on it. Okay, fine. And then here. The Empire rules by force and threat, roughly, kind of. I mean, they could be a little bit deeper than that, but fine. We rule instead. Oh my gosh. And again, this is the problem with the entire trilogy, is that Zahn has a hard-on for the rebellion, and he wants the rebellion to win because he morally wants the rebellion to win, and he just wants to hate the Empire in this book, rather than just making the Empire legitimate. And listen, if you're going to be a competent writer, you need to be on both sides. You need to be on both the Empire side and the rebellion side, because you're writing the conflict. You are the writer. You're supposed to be in the middle of the conflict. You are the conflict. You are the one who is, air quotes on you are the conflict. You are the one you are the vessel, right? You are the translator for the conflict in the story. You're the guy that's supposed to be on both sides, and you're telling the story of the resolution between two sides. He clearly aligns with the rebellion, and he's not willing to see all the glaring, even in the books here, he's not willing to see the glaring issues and deficiencies of the rebellion. So we rule instead by inspiration and leadership. Okay, see, and this is why I say this. Who the frick are you inspiring? Who are you inspiring in the book? Nowhere do I see anyone actually properly inspired or anything worthy of being inspired by. All the heroes are a bunch of has-been people who are just dumb luck winners in the entire grand story of the Thrawn Trilogy. Where is the inspiration, bro? And then leadership. Bro, the entire book, it addresses the entire lacking leadership of the rebellion. And Zahn never does anything to legitimize the Empire. Instead, he honestly just lets the entire idea of the Empire fall apart the longer you go through these books. He doesn't try to give the Empire a legitimate identity. And again, if you just put this in my freaking hands, I could go through all the books. I could jury rig the whole thing so that you have a competent Empire, so that you actually have a competent story for the rebellion to go against the Empire. There's so many ways that you could have gone about the Empire. He doesn't do it here. He just wants the Empire to be bad guy. And it's so lame, it's so mindless, brain numbing. What are you doing, dude? Write a competent villain. If you don't have a competent villain, you don't have a competent hero. And therefore, there is no hero, there is no good and evil fight here. There is none. Because you made everything comically simplistic. So there's no leadership, right? There's no inspiration and there's no leadership. Because the leadership is crap and the leadership is mostly female. Especially the key leadership is mostly female, specifically. Let's just make that point. So who the frick wants to be led? We rule by inspiration and leadership. Okay, who wants to be led by a bunch of retartar freaking females who think they're overly self-important about themselves? And then who's inspired by that? And then the leadership isn't even working. Who wants to be led by a bunch of people who are just fumbling across the galaxy? Who wants that? I don't get it. Everyone's incompetent in this book. It's just that the freaking good guys get lucky. The writing is so bad. There's other parts in the story, by the way, where things happen and like certain not really protocols, but certain procedures are made to win in certain aspects and scenarios. They're not explained at all. It's just, I'm pulling a 411. What's a 411? It's just a strategy, bro. Well, what strategy is the 411 strategy? I'm making this up, by the way. It's not in the book. But this is like the example of how Zahn does this throughout his entire series. It's a lot of just, the 411, bro. It's just, it's a very specific strategy that if you do it the right way, then everything just works out for you and you kill the enemy. And it's like, okay, that's it. And then they win. That's it. It happens so many times where it's just a thing is given a label and it's supposed to be thing that works, and then it works, and we never describe the mechanics of what is working. So it's just frustrating. And reading this book, going through it, I was just not impressed. And so this line here is bullcrap. That is my entire thoughts about The Last Command and also the entire trilogy. I might make a shorter video just recapping though the entire trilogy, like what did I think about the entire trilogy. But yeah, that's my specific thoughts about this book, dude. And the reason why, right, I picked this up and I bought the freaking books. You understand that I am slightly pissy about the fact that I bought 3 books and the story was mostly lame, and I was holding out like everyone says it's a good trilogy, let's see it. And then I got through it and I'm like, this is horse crap. Literally nothing. The best book is the first book, and only like 33% of that book is good, or less, honestly. And the only good parts are really Thrawn. Everything falls apart slowly but very quickly. Alright guys, so this is months after I recorded this, but I'm actually going to further elaborate on what I'm saying here. There are things within the Thrawn Trilogy that Zahn sets up early in the series, early in the books. These are things that Zahn does a terrible job executing and delivering effective payoffs. That's what I'm talking about here. There are so many things. At first, at the start of the book or at the start of the series, you're reading and you're like, okay, that could be good. Okay, that could be interesting. Something quickly happens, however, where Zahn goes nowhere, or he terribly executes the proposed value that we have or that we see through his writing, through his storytelling. And that's the problem that we get here with the Thrawn Trilogy, especially by the end of book 3, this one here. This is exactly the problem that we get to by this point in the series. There are so many things that are terribly, incorrectly executed upon. There's so many things that are just blatantly, flat out disappointing. You're like, oh, come on, Zahn, you really went there, bro? Like, again, giving Mara the kill shot on Luke Skywalker's clone, or I think also, I think she killed his clone, but also she killed specifically Master Sabayoth. What the frick, man? So anyways, I just had to come into here and just honestly re-elaborate it and I cut out some of the things I was already going to say that was already a part of this recording, because I just figured this is a better way of saying it. Again, as I was about to say in the original recording before I'm right now here, there are so many things in Thrawn's trilogy that was, quite frankly, it's like you could see it. It's like, oh, this can work out. This could be an interesting story, or that could be, or whatever. It's like passable or something like that. Okay, we can follow this story for whatever it's worth. Okay, fine. And then you go 1 hour in, you go 2 hours in, you're getting deeper and deeper into the story, and you're like, this is going nowhere. This is absolute dog trash. Anyways, back to the original recording for the review. It's a domino effect. It takes forever for the last domino to fall over, but the fact that there's the chain reaction happening in the first place, it happens fast. The books go crap fast, and it's just, it just takes time, right? To go from one thing going crap to the next thing going crap. It's a stupid trilogy. I don't understand what's going on. We have so many ridiculous scenarios and scenes occurring here throughout the books that just mean nothing to the overall plot. Bunch of characters say things, a bunch of characters argue, but that doesn't affect the end result. We all know that there's an end result. Let's just get to the freaking plot, bro. We know that we're on all these random parts of the story that doesn't affect the core plot, or it doesn't really change the course of the fact that the good guys are just going to win. It doesn't matter how many things they do. It doesn't matter who's screwing up. It doesn't matter who's seeming to win right now, not winning right now. It doesn't matter who has the upper hand right now, who has the lower hand right now. None of it matters. You know it's all ending in the same place. And honestly, you know that all the characters really aren't going anywhere either. Okay, let's leave the rest of these thoughts for just the freaking trilogy video, right? Me just addressing the whole trilogy as a whole. I'm just so disappointed in the whole way through the trilogy. The execution is horrible. It quickly corrodes as you go. And then the way that Thrawn is killed in the end. The resolutions are awful. And the resolution on Cybaoth and how he just freaking dies. What the frick? So, yo, thank you for joining me on these videos. Thanks for listening to me go through this and my freaking upset that I regret buying these books. I'm gonna be honest with you. And let me be clear about this, actually. It's fine that Thrawn made these books, right? It's fine that these are made. I'm happy that he made them. I'm happy that he told his Star Wars stories here with these books. I don't know what his other Star Wars books are really about. I don't care. It's just that the value, what we're getting here, what I've experienced here, it's not worth it. So, you know, whatever, cool. Some people have enjoyed this, but this is not something to recommend to other people. I'm happy for whatever success this has been for him, and I don't even really know why I have to say this. I don't really have to say this. Listen, man, I'm just being honest. This was a bad trilogy. I spent money on this. I'm really disappointed that I spent money on this. There are way better stories, like incredibly better stories than this. We could go down an exhaustive list. That's not the point of this review. So it's fine that this exists as a story, right? It's fine that some people picked this up, whatever, right? Man, it's just not impressive though. And this was a waste of time, tons of plot holes, tons of plot conveniences, lazy writing all over the place, feminism and wokeness thrown through and throughout. Ay, just, whew, man, I expected better. That's what I'm really saying here. So, thank you, man, for watching these videos, and I don't know how long it's gonna be that I finish my next book, but whatever the next video is, I'll catch you then. Alright, so here we are. We are addressing the entire Thrawn Trilogy. I just finished this entire series, and I'm sharing my thoughts. So let's go through it. Mara Jade, Leia, Organa Solo, frickin' Mon Mothma, the women, Winter, they're all annoying. They're all feminists. They're all career women. Leia wins fights. She chases after conflicts while pregnant. She literally gives birth. And the same day, or the day after, of giving birth, she's already trying to be a career woman, be a politician, running around with a blaster, pew pew. Stupid, woke, feminist bullcrap in the Thrawn Trilogy. I cannot stand it. Thrawn is the most enjoyable character here. Cybaoth is supposed to be a crazy guy. He's not a crazy guy. He's just a guy he knows his own value. He's out for power. Okay. He just sounds like a dude who's got freaking convictions, and he's He's got a plan with his life, okay? He's not a crazy, insane dude, but for some reason he is treated, and Zahn wants you to believe, Timothy Zahn, he wants you to believe that Cybaoth is crazy. And never throughout the books is there any indicator that Cybaoth is actually crazy. Now, this is the thing. Thrawn is basically, throughout the entire trilogy, he is an idiot savant. He's this supposed genius, diversity hire, right? Diversity hire for Empire standards, right? And he is getting foiled all the time. He is getting defeated all the time. And he's like, it was a part of my plan. Do not worry, for though they have won now, I will win in the future. It's like, what is going on here? Thrawn, buddy, you're losing all the time. If losing doesn't matter, then why are you fighting in the first place? Whatever. Why are you fighting for these different things if losing things all over the place doesn't matter? That's not even the whole thing. There's so many elements that's just stupid about that. We're not going to go through it. Screw it. Just Zahn writes Thrawn to be a freaking moron. And, sorry, idiot savant, right? He's a genius, but ultimately, he can't win. Okay? Then what's the point of him being a genius? He has no menace. The heroes are written to win. All the time. Okay? And that's my biggest issue with this series. All the heroes are has-been, washed-up people who they're suddenly lucky or suddenly smart. Chewbacca, he's suddenly a mechanic. Okay, this guy is a guy that snarls and goes for freaking language. He's a freaking ape, and we're acting like he's a mechanic. Like, everyone has to be smart in this. Everyone's a freaking genius. Lando Calrissian, right? He's this guy that is the master of his stock markets or whatever, and it's okay. Like, the only person that's honestly really incompetent, it seems like, or just in the sidelines, is Han. Like, Han's a washed-up, deadbeat dad. He's not a deadbeat father, but he's just a washed-up dude. Sorry, washed-up father who might as well be deadbeat. It's just, he's completely useless. He's always grumbling about everything. I mean, what the frick? I don't get it. Why was Han made this way? He just grumbles all the time. That's it. Whatever. Luke is a homosexual. Let's just put it straight. He won't bang Mara. He won't go for it. She wants to kill him, and he's like, he never just sits there and tells her, yo, biatch, yo, look over here, look at my blade. It's ignited. Get on your freaking knees. He never does it. It's like, well, Luke, bro, like, what's the point? Why do you keep holding out for this chick? Why do you, like, he obviously holds out for her because she's apparently hot. Mara Jade, the feminist, girl boss, the biggest girl boss of the entire trilogy, because she gets all the killing blows or all the biggest victories. And for some reason, he just keeps on having this, he holds out all this highest hopes for Mara, and it's like, dude, you're not even getting your freaking pee-pee sucked. What are you going on about, bro? Get that freaking pee-pee sucked on the 9,000, but you won't get the 9,000 pee-pee-inator sucked, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense. What are you waiting for, Luke? I don't know, but the guy's an asexual plant, and he sits there, the ways that he goes about the Force, and just, and he's not willing to kill a freaking villain, that whole freaking propagandistic bullcrap. I don't get it. He's lame, he's not a Jedi, and he literally has no balls. Luke has no balls. The women have bigger balls than him. Literally, Mara Jade kills Master Cybaoth, a freaking Dark Lord. And for some reason, Luke's like, I won't do it. I won't kill a Sith. And Mara sits there and she's like, fine, I'll be the man of the story. Oh my gosh. You know, Leia, right? Han sits around and he really does nothing. He just hangs out with his freaking stocks, bro. He's like, hey, Lando, what's up? How's the stonks, bro? How's the stonk? It's like, what are we? Okay, Han, what are you waiting for, bro? Do something. And Leia's like, I'm a woman. I'm
I'm gonna go figure out the universe. I'm literally 4 months pregnant, or whatever it was when she was in the book. I'm gonna go off to Kashyyyk and go talk to a bunch of Wookiees, and I'm nearly get assassinated while I'm 4 months pregnant, by the way, in case you forgot.
What is going on in this book, bro? Sorry, the whole trilogy, but right, each of these little books and all the freaking bull crap that's thrown into each one, the women are given, they literally behave the most like men, and the men behave a little bit like women, bro. The men are very passive, and the women, for some reason, they're very aggressive. Someone make sense of this for me. I'm losing my freaking mind. And like, I bought these books, and I was like, oh, it should be good, right? People talked about it. It's like, oh, these books are good. The Thrawn Trilogy, it's some of the best Star Wars out there. What the frick did I just read? There's so many issues. There's so many unnecessary story beats that happens. There's so many unnecessary smugglers that we meet in roughly the same way, where it all ends up in a holdup. Everyone's pointing guns at each other, and it's just, hi there, I'm a smuggler, and I guess we'll work with you in the future, but not right now because we're gonna have fake drama. Okay. Why are we doing this? What is going on in all these books? There's a bunch of bloated space. The whole trilogy really should have just been 1.5 books. It wasn't. There didn't need to be a second book. Completely needless. Listen, like, the last book was just a bunch of unnecessary talking between people. I don't know why. The unnecessary need by Zahn to just have constant conversation between characters is annoying. It's legit bothering, bro. It's just, why is everyone's acting like they're outmaneuvering each other all the time. Everyone's acting like they're doing this like, what, 6D chess, Jinjitsu, you know, going like, wah, and we're like, okay, what? And they're like, wah, and then everyone's like, dude, there's not even a plot here, stop it. You know, they're all Jinjitsuing around, you know, they don't even know. Oh my gosh. They don't even know jujitsu, right? They're all practicing their made-up martial arts. Everyone thinks they're outsmarting each other. Everyone thinks they're smart. Everyone just blubber, blubber. And then we all know that everything's just going to end up in the same place, which is the heroes have plot armor, the plot is just built to win for them, and the villains are just built to lose. Thrawn is a freaking genius, and the guy's plans get foiled all the time by dumb luck. There's a reason in the original trilogy why the luck of the characters worked out. Here, there's no reason for it. We could go into the trilogy and literally find reasons why things worked the way they worked. Here, there's no legitimization for any of it, and I'm just gonna say it. Zahn barely has a freaking imagination. This is some of the most boring books in the Star Wars universe I can think of. I mean, it's basically Star Trek in the Star Wars universe. And it's just a bunch of unnecessary peculiarities and specificities about things that don't matter and doesn't affect the plot. We know everything's ending up in the same place. We know that whatever drama is going on right now, these people are going to end up working with each other because we know where the plot's going. Nothing really changes. Whatever happens for people just goes wherever, okay? It just goes wherever it's going to go. And then it's not really going to matter for the end of the plot. Nothing matters here. There's a bad guy senator or whatever, diplomat, whatever. He's just gonna be a supposed bad guy. And then we all know that none of it's gonna matter. None of it's going to affect the larger world of Star Wars. We know that all these plot points, they don't lead anywhere. It's just busy work. It's busy time. It's put your eyes on the screen, right? The figurative screen, but here it's the book. Put your eyes on the paper and just watch the story go on by. Watch a bunch of people blabber. And then we all know nothing's going to happen by the end. We all know that these characters, nothing's going to happen to them. We know that no one's going to learn anything. We know nothing of consequence will happen. We know that there's just a core, fundamental storyline going on here, narrative. And that is all that is meant to actually have happen. And what do we really know that's supposed to end with this entire trilogy is that Thrawn, for one, is defeated, Sabayoth is defeated, and our heroes win. We know that from the start, and nothing is ever done to dissuade you of that, or nothing is ever done to actually make a different story that's actually more interesting, and something that is actually interesting, something that Oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh, this is an actual story. No, nothing ever happens. The whole story's on rails, man. So what really pissed me off at the end of this entire trilogy was Thrawn's death and Cybaoth's death. Mara Jade is given the killing blow on Cybaoth, and Cybaoth dies way too easy. Honestly, he should have won. And Cybaoth did nothing wrong, and he should have won at the end of the book. Thrawn is this Grand Admiral. He's a grand strategist. He's a friggin' genius, right? You would expect him at the end of the book to be outsmarted and defeated in a grand ploy against him, or a grand outmaneuvering, right? Some grand strategy that takes out a Grand Admiral. Literally just gets stabbed by his bodyguard, some Nogri alien guy that's like, I don't like that you enslaved my people, so I kill you. And that's the way that Thrawn goes out. He literally goes out. He's basically, here's what happened. Timothy Zahn ran out of plot time for Thrawn, and he just said, okay, you know what, Heroes 1, I don't really know what to do else outside of, Cybaoth just got killed, defeated. I don't know what to do the frick with Thrawn, so he's just gonna die. And that's what happens. Everyone, by dumb luck, just randomly wins. The Empire is not menacing, has no threat, because everyone has plot armor. And Thrawn literally dies off screen. Alien looks over at him, he's like, oh my gosh, Thrawn, you're stabbed, I can't believe it. And we're like, oh, love of God, here we go. And Thrawn just smiles, and then his smile fades away, because he's dead. He's bleeding out. Okay. Cool. Literally, we spent 3 books building this guy up, and he gets stabbed off screen, and then he dies on screen in under like 10 seconds. A grand strategist just gets randomly stabbed by his bodyguard. I'm just gonna say this, bro. I have a whole parody up in my head about meth addicts in space, and that these characters are synonymous with meth addicts in space. You could write a better story about that. And honestly, these books are a freaking parody, and that is really what we're looking at. These are freaking losers in space. We're in a trailer park, and everyone's acting like they're jinjitsu, they're made up martial arts. We're acting like they're all outsmarting each other, and they're not. By the end of this whole trilogy, I just realized I wasted a bunch of money, a bunch of time. I am not impressed, and the ending just sold it for me. When I finished the first book, I was like, okay, that wasn't really impressive, but I kind of like Thrawn, so I'll pick up the second book, see what happens. And it just got worse from there. Slowly, the entire series just falls apart, but quickly the value corrodes. And by the time you get to the end, you're just like, wow, that was a giant waste of time. I can't believe anybody refers this entire trilogy. It's fine that the trilogy was made, but it's not freaking good. And the level to which I am disappointed, the level to which I am amazed of how much was built up and how little was delivered. This is some of the most bloated fiction that's out there. And I don't know. I think this is, though, very well likely, maybe this is just how a lot of what big publisher authors are like, is that they all just bloat stuff up. It's a lot of what I've seen, but you just don't have a lot of meat on this bone. And that's really what I see by the end of finishing this entire trilogy. So, thank you for joining me on this video. I just didn't enjoy the book much. And anyways, I will catch you on the next one.